Welcome to the In My Opinion Show with Ronald, Barrington, Robinson, and friends, seen on the internet 24 hours a day. This show is also seen on Flint, Michigan, Comcast Cable, Channel 17, every Saturday at 6 o'clock and every Wednesday at 8:30. We are also seen on Detroit, Michigan, Comcast Cable Television, Channel 68, every Sunday at 9. We're also seen on Comcast Cable Television, Channel 20, downriver. I want to welcome our millions of viewers worldwide, but I especially want to welcome our very talented co-host. We have Mr. Denise Smith-Allen.
Hello, Ron. Hello, everyone.
Hi. We have Miss Patricia McQueen.
Hello, Ron.
We have Mr. Henry Hatter.
Hi, Ron. It's good to be here, ladies.
Thank you. Let's talk about what are your thoughts on all the demonstrations across America concerning Trump's ban on immigration. Me, I think it's inhuman in many ways, all right? Right now, as this show is being made, there's literally thousands upon thousands of immigrants now being housed and warehoused in camps, all right? Mostly in the southwest. This is unconscionable, all right? The Trump ban, even though it was halted, but then he's trying to revise whatever it is he's trying to revise, come up with some more foolishness that's going to be hurtful. Yes, I agree with him on one count. Get rid of the bad hombres, as they call them, all right? But it's not just the people from South America, all right, are being rounded up. Okay, you've got Africans, you've got people from Europe. Okay, so don't get fooled and think it's just the people from South America, because it's not. Denise, you have any ideas?
Yes, I certainly do. The demonstrations across America regarding immigration, I think, is timely. I think we should continue to cast a light on some laws that are being implemented that are affecting families. There are a lot of people who came here to this country to work, who have established themselves as hardworking citizens here. They were not able to, for whatever reason, not to get their green card or their paperwork in order, but they have been here for a number of years. I believe that on a case-by-case basis, those individuals need to be looked at, evaluated quickly, and either return to their families or give them a court date so that they can fight their cause. It's unconscionable to look at someone who's been here 20 years and to think that they're going to be deported. Deported where? Suppose, for example, if someone is being deported to Mexico, some of them may not know all of the language. Some of them may not have family members to go to. So you're sending them to a place that basically now is foreign to them, and they have to try to start all over. In the meantime, for example, if they are the breadwinners of their families, whether they are the male or the female of the family who has generated income for that family, now that family is being splintered, and what's going to happen to the young people, the children that are being left behind. So there are so many facets to this whole idea that I think it's incumbent upon Americans, people who have any type of moral conscience, to stand up, because we're talking now about the right to assemble, and that is part of the Constitution. And I believe that as long as there are some problems to this magnitude, that people need to voice their concerns and their opinions.
Exactly. As I was saying, it's not just it's all kinds of professionals, even professionals, nurses, doctors, lawyers, dentists, okay, that are being rounded up, which is terrible. Okay, they have established lives here, and in many cases, ICE, which is law enforcement, they've picked up these men and women from their jobs and so forth. They don't give a daggone care about their children, what's happening to their children or anything. Henry, what's your thoughts?
Well, I'm going to depart from this argument, and I hope I don't make everybody mad here. But we have a lot of Americans here who sit idly every day and do nothing.
And they're still going to sit idly.
Let him finish.
Now, there's only so much money in the coffers to take care of our people. Health care, education, Social Security, all of those bearing up on the Treasury. And these people pay nothing into the government to support these institutions that protect our interests all of our lives. So we need the immigrants. Don't get me wrong. We need the immigrants. But we want those immigrants who contribute to the country. We want those who are educated. And most of them are better educated than Americans. And when they get here, we don't have to take care of them once they get here. We have to take care of the people who have been born here, the privileged ones who will do nothing. But like the governor says, hey, I want 50,000, not Arabs, but brought into Detroit. Who are they?
Syrians?
Syrians. I want 50,000 Syrians brought into Detroit so they can stimulate the economy. But we got people who live there.
Mm-hmm.
And they ought to be able to go out and self-start and regulate themselves and create new opportunities in Detroit. But if we got rid of some of them, the 50,000, we would do well. But we don't need another 50,000 piled up onto our population, draining the Treasury so that we become a third world nation over time. It doesn't take long to do that. So those who come in and work in professions in engineering and science and education and medicine, no problem. But you bring people into the country, sure they deserve a livelihood, and they deserve a right to life and freedom and all of that. But we just can't carry everybody. We don't have the resources. We have to think this thing through. We have to protect Americans first to keep the country stable. Because if this country is not stable by the people who are born here, it will destabilize. And we create another problem of a different kind.
Well, I heard you say, the governor
50,000.
talking about 50,000 Syrians. Well, aren't they immigrants too?
Yes.
Now, who's going to train them and teach them? The ones that can't
They will be
aren't
vetted.
fluent
They will be vetted.
in English or anything like this here. I mean, Trump's talking about terrorists and and jihad and all of that kind of stuff. Okay. Now, my thing is this: America shouldn't be over there in Syria right now. They shouldn't be in Iraq right now. They shouldn't be in Afghanistan.
Stick to the question now.
Okay, I'm coming back. I'm coming back to it, buddy. Trust me. All right.
We're talking about
And he's talking about trying to keep the country safe.
Yeah.
Now, there's something screwy about
I
this
know,
whole
but-
situation here.
But that's why there's a process to do this. It has to be a well thought out process. We welcome the people who come in and make us better than who we are today. And they could be of a different religion as long as they assimilate their conditions that this country was built on. We need to retain those. And we need to bring those in who can contribute, not suck the treasury dry.
When you say who's sucking the treasury dry,
Maybe I should drain the treasuries. How's that?
who's draining the treasury?
The people that don't come and contribute anything.
Well, doesn't a person or family or whatever, don't they have an opportunity to at least get resources on a temporary basis until they can get their footing. You're coming into another country. You have to, as you say, assimilate. You have to learn the culture. You have to learn the language. You have to go to school. You have to find work.
We can't get our own people to go to school.
Well, this is very true, but we're talking now about the immigrants. We're talking a specific population of people.
Yeah.
And you're talking about Syrians, but they have other groups as well that are
we welcome those. We welcome those.
We're welcoming people, but we're putting stipulations that I don't think are realistic.
Yeah.
Because you have to give a person an opportunity to get to a level.
But most people never had an opportunity. They just came in, found jobs, they worked the menial jobs, just like the Mexicans come here. They take the lowest paid jobs, and over time, in about 10 or 15 years, they then earn more money than the average poor person.
Henry, I take exception to what you just said because
read it now. Go back and study.
Because
first.
These Mexicans and Hispanics, whatever you may want to label them as, all right, there are doctors, there's lawyers, there's nurses, there's teachers. Okay, they fill in everything.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
So they're just not field hands, all right, or construction workers that you see out there on the highway. Okay, and that's the misconception that if you keep telling the same damn lie over and over and over and over again, it becomes the truth. But the reality of it is,
can I give you some statistics?
I have, and it still is a lie. Okay?
Can I give you some statistics? I was on the Institute of Public Policy Research at Michigan State University. And I recall reading the document that they published for 2000. At that time, the Mexicans, and it was really Mexicans, and Mexicans, white, and blacks. Now, the average income for the black American was $18,000 at that time. Average income. Okay. And the Mexican in the field, worked in the field, they got a lot less, okay? But after 10 years, their income has superseded that of the black population here in Michigan. And I can get your books with the statistics in it. Well, I don't mean to excoriate black people, and I don't mean to excoriate Mexican, but this is an ugly picture. And but think about the people who worked in the field, and they may have second jobs, but that propelled them up to supersede that of black Americans in Michigan.
Okay, and while that argument appears valid on the surface, you have to look at the fact that because of cultural differences within that community, they're in a position where they may not go to your established banks and other institutions, so they pool their resources within their families and what have you, and then they establish businesses. Okay, so again, that's a cultural thing that honestly, we do not have that same mindset, a lot of people.
But you got to give the people who's most fit to survive the opportunities.
And they spend that money in their own community.
Yeah, they can do that.
We have the prerogative. That $1 will go 10 different ways or more.
We can do that. But I'm just saying that we need to prepare our kids. Like by 2050, black Americans and Mexicans will have the political and arithmetic majority of this country. But we need to prepare our kids for that. We need to get them ready to serve as CEOs and hospitals and in industry, and we need to educate them so that they can serve in Congress and all of the other things that American people do. And I believe that, and I say this, guys, I say it with a lot of integrity here. I believe that by and large, the culture of the United States want black people to be part of the mixture, not to be bottom feeders. They want them to be part of the mixture, just like everybody else does. Because when you're part of the mixture, you stabilize your nation.
I believe that to a certain extent, but I also look at the fact that, and I don't know if any of you have seen the documentary that was done by Ava DuVernay on the 13th. Okay, 13th is dealing with a constitutional amendment that talks about persons who have had issues with the law, and then they too in turn could end up being a part of, as a quote unquote criminal, be basically involved in slavery, so to speak. And so now you have the prison industry, and I know we've kind of gotten off the beaten path of what we're talking about in terms of
Immigrants. Yeah.
Okay, but you're talking about how are we going to incorporate and encourage Black Americans to be engaged in the whole process of living the American dream. Well, one of the things that's happened, and this has happened from a historical perspective, is that people have gotten involved in the criminal justice system, which in effect has put them in a class of Jim Crow. They have been excluded from a lot of things that would allow them to be elevated into the mainstream society. And so that's one of the problems, okay? How do we fix that? There's a lot of ways in which we can remedy that, probably in another discussion. But I bring that to the point because the people who are immigrating into this country do not have that as a barrier. They don't have that.
But Black Americans have a bigger share of this country. They were born here.
True.
You cannot take away their citizenship.
Well, that's
Take away anybody else's, but you cannot take away a Black American citizenship.
But
we are here forever. This is where we would die.
We were born here,
Yeah.
true that, and I appreciate that part of it. But if you have had contact with the criminal justice system,
Oh, yeah.
then you are excluded and you
Yes.
become a second-class citizen
Yeah.
or a citizen
Sure.
that has
Yeah.
all of these barriers that don't allow you to be a part of the American dream.
But there are institutions out there that help Black Americans get over that barrier. Since that has been the case, well, you established the truth here. That's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
But we need to work on that to make sure that we're prepared for 2050. So
Oh,
our kids will do
absolutely.
well.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
But also too, we have to look at racism. Okay, I'm not trying to throw the race card in here, but
Stick to immigration. now.
but it's very real. All right. When you go to prison, that for whatever reason, not jail but prison, they tell you, okay, well you got to pay your debt to society. But when you come out, you still
paying.
You still pay it for the rest, paying that so-called debt, which is a fake. All right, for the rest of your life. I don't care if you're a man or a woman, black or white. Mm-hmm. Okay, that ought to be abolished. Mm-hmm. You go in there and do your time. Okay, be on parole for maybe a year, for a couple of years. You got a clean slate. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying re-offend or anything like that. That's a different category. Okay, but we got to get rid of this idea that you did you paid your debt to society. That's a lie.
Okay, now you were preaching to the choir for a while, but now you're preaching to the real world. I think you're right. You got one thing right today.
Oh, gee, thanks.
I think that we do need to. We're the only country that have this whole segment of people dedicated to prison populations. Mm-hmm. I read that. I continue to read that. Americans need to rethink how we process prisoners. We need to be more forgiving for people who do things that don't fit the category of a real hardened criminal.
Right.
But we also need to learn how to teach our kids.
Yeah.
We need to, and I don't know how you can do that, Pastor, now that churches are out of schools, they're out of our lives, and we don't believe in the 10 Commandments anymore. We believe in the survival of the fittest, and do as I do. I'll do to you what you do to me, and all of that stuff. There's a mentality out there. We are a mean-spirited people, but our intent is not to be that way. Our Constitution says we don't have to be the way we are. But you take a look at today, how we live with each other, and how we think of people as being different from us by race.
Well, race, Henry,
Yeah.
is a construct.
Yeah.
It's a construct, okay? Only in America has it become a major issue. Globally, it is not an issue like it is here in America. And it became that because of, the chattel slavery and all of that manifested here in America. Okay, but by and large, what I'm thinking about in terms of what you were describing about the prison industry complex, this whole thing disenfranchises voters, people who want licenses to do certain things. They can't do certain things. Okay, so we're talking about a process of continuing exclusion. And so if you continue to exclude people from doing the main things that is going to be about your survival, then you go back to what you know. And if that's all you know, trying to stick somebody up or do whatever it is that you do to get yourself in trouble in the first place, you become the repeat offender or the recidivist. Okay? So how do you stop that? You say education. I am for education. I'm for helping people who have children in elementary school, talking to them about here are options. But they also have to see other options, because in your community you have various types of folks. They need to see more Henrys coming in. I'm an engineer. I'm on the school board. I'm doing this. These kinds of things, because they have to have a frame of reference of someone doing something that's positive and favorable, okay, to counter the other stuff that they see. So that becomes the battle cry. How do you engage people who are busy people like yourself to sit down and say, have a conversation with these fifth graders?
Well, when Ron mentioned this, I don't know, was it 20 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago? This has been his theme, that people need to be given a second chance once they're returned from the prison system.
Correct.
But I was quickly to say no. They probably break out and do something different. But we have no place to put the others. They're bubbling up at the sewer.
But let me just say this here: not only the people that have been incarcerated and come home, but I'm talking about there's another disadvantage. There's millions of people that have felonies, all right, on their record. Now, in some cases they can't get any grants to go to college. All right. People are still, your employer still has, have you ever been convicted?
Check off.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And then you're automatically eliminated. See, those barriers need to be taken out, okay? So give people an opportunity. Okay, give people a second chance. All right, we interviewed a lady here on this show about second chances and so forth. She works with an organization in Lansing. Now, that would be the fair thing to do. I mean, we've got talking about millions upon millions of men and women and young adults that have felony convictions, all right, that can't get a job, or people won't give them that second chance to enable them, all right, to enjoy that American dream. This is the kind of stuff that we've got to get rid of here in America.
What does God want us to do?
She's speaking.
God wants us to love one another and all get along. But what I want to say is, and speaking on what you're talking about right now, is because I'm working with those very men and women that you're talking about, and when they go to prison, a lot more has been taken from them than just they've been put under suppression. And they've been mistreated. It's like slavery, even though slavery is supposed to be no more. We know that they're having hard times. The time is not easy when they go in there. Many of them have given up before they even come out of the prison. And when they get out here now, recently, they've come up with lists where there's many jobs that are accepting people with felony and yes, but the kind of jobs they are jobs that nobody else really wants, And then when they get on those jobs and they are people that came from prison, they may be treated differently from the regular workers, you know, and made to do things, and people talk to them in a way because they know that they need this job, and if they don't do as they say, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, I know
Sure.
clearly what you're saying. You know, and it's very unfortunate that we are in a situation like that, because I think what Henry was talking about is like, how do we include? We're talking about right now, if we go back to our original topic, and we're talking about immigration and how all of that plays into this. We want everyone to feel comfortable in America. We want everyone to be a part of that quote unquote American dream. Okay. But once a person who has been involved with the system comes out, they don't have those opportunities. And so therefore you have a lot of bitterness. You know, if you don't want people to be bitter and you want them to have the opportunity, then you have to treat them differently. You have to give them more of an opportunity, more of a chance. So we have to have a rethink about how we deal with people who have history.
But what do you say for the people who are really surfacing the immigration issue right now, and these are Middle Easterners, and that's the real issue. How do we look at them? And,
Well, I think with
and this is the Mexicans and all.
right,
What
because
should Trump be doing?
Trump, like I said earlier on, it should be an individual case-by-case base for those persons who are being targeted by ICE to come back into this holding facility and being dumped in their city or country of origin, and they've been here for years. That has to be dealt with differently.
But
And also,
and my point, Ron, was first of all, we got to take care of the people who live here. Those
Of
people
course.
coming out of prisons, those are Americans. They were born here. They should have rights to certain things that
Sure.
others don't have. They should be privileged.
I agree.
And the other thing is, we need immigrants. We need those kind that I've already identified for you.
but with that, unfortunately, time has gone by. But I advocate second chances and inclusion for folks. This is Ronald Berry Robinson and friends saying until next time, stay focused.